Hey Talents, so in this movie I'm going to show you how to work with variables, and it's going to be really basics, and I'm going to focus on the really simple variables and how to they affect the objects in the game. So this is kind of a very basic lessons for people who want to learn to code and they want to learn how to program games. The good thing about it, the places where I'm going to be more specific and going more into details are about how we can use variables in different way and what's so special about them, which is really a subject I really love to talk about and explain because it's really kind of what make building game and actually programming really fun and interesting to me, and also it's what make it fun for me to teach it to others. So let's start. So I created another movie showing how to create this hinge, this joint hinge 2D, right, to make this better. So let me just show you. So now if I'm running it, I can move the character from side to side. This is what we're going to work on, and I show you this, right, more or less, probably with a different pair or something. Anyway, let's understand how to work with the movement here. So to explain variable, I don't want to work in this complex environment, right? We here all these games object, and I want to start really simple. So let's start simple. So what I'll do, I just start with another scene. So I'll go here on scenes, and I'll just I have it the gameplay and the sample scene, which is the basic one that created in every project. So let me just open it, and it has nothing. It has only the camera, and the camera shows us the game area, which I created in this like profile resolution for phone. So we want to create some object and work with some variables. So how do we do it? Let's start really simple. I'll do it just by right click here to the object, and I'll start by sprite. Sprite is like graphics, basically a way to represent an object, and I'll go for square, and I have this white square. You might have noticed that when I was working on the other video, when I was working on creating a pair, that I used a sprite that is basically an image that is basically white, and the reason is once it's white, I can really control the way it looks and change the color really easily from here. So in the sprite renderer, I can just change the color, so I can make many objects in many colors, and we'll probably look at it later. But let's start with something simple. So here we have the transform, which is basically all the information about the object. So its position, its rotation, and its scale, and we have everything in 3 dimensional. So if, for example, I'll try to make it bigger, like if I'll make it taller, we see here the scale going up. If I can also make it wider, I can do them both using the middle. It's really nice, but the basic is 1, 1, 1. So this is the original side of the image. I can press E and rotate it. So this is when we work in 2D, the main rotation is along the Z. Z. So it's like straight forward and back. But we can remember that when working in Unity, even if we do work on 2D, it's basically behind the scene is 3D. So if I press here, you can see it in 3D. Here's the camera, it's look here. I can rotate it like here, and we can see it changes. So let's close it. We will stay in 2D. And there's another thing. There's the main camera. You see it's orthographic. This is what gives it the 2D look. If I change it to perspective, it doesn't look much different, but it is. I mean, if I like go here and press Ctrl D and duplicate it, and so this is of course I'm doing things that are not really that related to variables yet, but it's fine, it's interesting. This is what I usually do when I teach. I start talking about everything that might be interesting. So so here we have 2 squares that look about the same, right? And they are the same, but if I'll go to the 3D, I can take the red one and take it back. And like in real life, because we are using the camera, which is perspective, like in real life, when something is far away, it looks smaller, and that's totally cool. Now I'll see something interesting. If I go to main camera and change it back to orthographic, first of all, it's now show the field of the camera as one of the rect, like going all the way back to infinity, and we can see that they look the same that way. Okay, so I won't explain all the physics, but this is the main difference between orthographic and perspective, and we'll of course use orthographic. Okay, so now we have these two items. Let's go back to 2D. We have these two squares, and they're about the same, and we see the position, and okay, this one is turned around, right? Something is turned around. I think yeah, okay, so let me go back here, sorry, to 0, 0, 0. Okay, okay, so we have two squares. Maybe this as well. Let's choose. Okay, you can't choose anything on the game screen. Okay, we work on the scene, of course. So here, let's go back to this. Now, what I really want to show you, and let's also make this 0, 0. Now, what I want to show you is the red one, is at 0, 0, 0, which is exactly the middle of the screen, the middle of the camera in these settings. And the green one, it's a bit to the side, it's a bit might be upper, and when I move it around, okay, these changes, and you can think of it as variable. Okay, the position, the transform are variable. The position, rotation, and scale are actually what's called vector, and they are variable of this object. And all the object in Unity has like a class with variables, and these are the variables that define their position, for example. Okay, so you can think of x and y as a variable, and we'll explain it in a second. And as you can see, I move them around, and according to the value, I know the location. For example, with the outlook currently on the inspector, if I put it on the right side of the screen at the top at the upper part, I know that it would be positive x and positive y. Okay, so here it's positive and positive. Let's do it with 1. Okay, so I can put here 1 and 1. Okay, and here it is. And if I change the x to minus 1, so it will be on the left side. And of course, if I change now to -1 on the y, it will be down here. So the position and the variable here shows me exactly where it should be on the screen. These are actually the position here, like coordinate on the. You can see here that we have this grid. Okay, so every square of the grid is 1. So if we go back to 1 and 1, for example, so it's 1 on the x and 1 on the y, right? So it's this. Okay, we went like 1 like this and 1 like this. Okay, great. So let's get into talking about how to work with this variable. So to work with code, we have to have script. So let's add component, and I'll look for script. And there is new script here. I'll take it, and I'll just call it square for now. Okay, and I added it. I'm working on the green one, so the green one has this component now. The red one doesn't. Let's start with the green one. So I want to work on the script. I can just double click it here, and according to what code editor I'm working on, I'm working with the Rider. So according to the one I choose, the correct one will be opened. I'll close anything else that I don't want us to be distracted by other codes or files, and I'll do it a bit bigger. So I'm trying not to make this movie too long, but this is basically the code. We have here the start function that happened on the beginning of the frame and the update that happened every frame. So for example, I can use the transform dot position dot x, and this is a variable. Okay, this is can change. Okay, and I'll get the value. Okay, this is the value. If I want to change it, I actually need to do something else. And okay, I want to make it a bit either, you know what, let me work on something else. So let's do something like this. So I'll do two variables here, and I'll use float. So float x equals 0. Okay, he fixed it to private, that's okay. And float y is equal to 0. And okay, and I'll just do something like this. I want to update it, so I'll do transform dot position. You don't have to understand these details. equals a new 3D vector, and let's just use x, comma y, comma 0, because the z we always leave at 0. So what this basically does is when I change this value, this will change. So, and the update happens every frame. Okay, update's called once per frame. So if I'll go back to the Unity and run it, you see how it's organized, and we see here it's 1 on 1, but I basically wrote the code that will change the position to 0, 0, and we can't see it because the other square is in our way. Okay, so just for a second, I'll take this square and hide it, and when I run it again, you can see the green square going to 0 and 0. And variable, I use this variable to update the position, and if I change it, for example, to 10, and no, maybe not 10, maybe 2 and 3, so it's going to be 2 on the x and 3 on the y. Okay, so now if I run it, okay, you see it jump to 2 on the x and the x and 3 on the y. Okay, so this is very basic working with variable, and I already see this recording might be a bit long, but it's fine. So what if I want to change them on the fly, right? So private just said it is just in this code, just in this scope. I can change it from everywhere. But if I change it for public, it's going to change something going to be very interesting. Okay, so I'm changing it, and let me do something like this. I can't run it now. Okay, I'll stop it here. It's updating the script, and I'll go back to here, and let me see if I can attach to Unity editor and play. Okay, I can just use this one, so I can run it from here, and this should open the and run in Unity. Okay, so it just jumped here, but some things are going to be different with the code. So let me see. Actually, can't see here the code, right? Let me have a look on this. Oh, sorry, this is one. Okay, so once I did it as public, you'll see I have these two fields, right? The x and the y. And because I'm updating all the time, when I change it here, it's actually also changed the coordinates here, right? So this is basically a variable. We can give them different value, and we can change them. Another variable might be the name. Okay, so it calls square 1 in brackets. But if I'll go back to the code and I'll go like, okay, you know what? I'll do it on start. Start having it's called before the first frame update, because it is the first code that is running, and it has a variable called name. Okay, this is because every object in Unity, what we call mono behavior, has the variable name, and I can just call it, for example, it's a string, so it's my square. This is the way we write a string. Okay, and this happens at the beginning. Okay, and now if I run it, you'll see that its name changed here on the hierarchy, and also here to my square. Now we can do better than that, because as we've seen, a variable can change. So let's just change them in different way. Let's say we want to show in the name the position. This is kind of stupid, but we might want to. So a way to do it is name equals, okay, square like this plus x plus y. And there are different ways to construct the string, but actually what it means that every frame it will update the name according to the x and the y, which is kind of doing too much work, because it's done every frame, even if the position haven't changed, but it's okay. Let's have a look. Okay, so here is now in 2 or 3, and once I change the position, okay, it's actually changed the number here, which is quite amazing. It's really nice. Okay, so this is really nice, but this is not really kind of something you would want to do in a game. What you would want to do in the game is make the square move, right? So let's make it move. In the update, we see here, we update the position according to x and y. What if we just change x? So how would we do it? it is important to understand that the frame change, that the position and everything is calculated every frame, and it's about, might be 30, might be 60 frames per second. But if we want to make a move, we should do it pretty small. So I can do x equals x plus, and I'll do something pretty small. Okay, and I should put it with f. This means float, and this will make x bigger with like add to x 0.03. So let's, just to see it, I'll change everything here to 0. Let's see how we can how it is affected on the game itself. Okay, so now that I run the game, it's moving pretty fast, and have you seen it jump to 2 and 3 even though it puts 0? The reason is it's because here it's 2 and 3. It's because it's like saying these are the basic values, but because I do it public and you can see it in the inspector, you can change it from here. So once we use the inspector values will always override, okay, these values. Okay, so let's run it. Right there, what it does really good, it's actually showing me if it's changed or unchanged and from where. So let's run it again. It will be on 0, 0. Okay, and it starts moving, and it's kind of moving strangely, right? Okay, it's also of course affects the name, and it's strange, right? So before we explain how to do it, let's do something else. Let's say we want to control the speed. Okay, we can do it, no problem. We can use the public float speed. Okay, and give it, and it really doesn't matter what value we give it here, because we will change it from the inspector. Okay, so let's we have the speed 0 here, and if I want to get about the same result, I can change it here to 0.0, let's say 2. Okay, and run it. Okay, and it's going pretty good, but you might see that the speed is actually changing, right? It doesn't happen all the time the same way. Why? So the thing is, the update function, it doesn't really call every frame, it calls every time it can process it. I mean, it's every frame, but every frame might take a different time to process it. So I can actually change it by using 003 times, and this is another kind of variable. I won't go into detail, but I can use time dot delta time. Okay, and I can use, I will just use the delta time, nothing else, and I'll put this in the brackets. Okay, but the thing is, time delta time is like the part of a second, and because frame happens every part of a second, 003 is really will be really slow when I'm like calculating this for a whole second. Okay, so if I go now and I run it, it's going to be really slow, because this calculation is supposed to happen every frame, and now it happens every second. So I can do something else. I might say, okay, I want speed to be like for 30 frames a second. Or so if it was 002, what I would actually want is to have it times 30. Now, what's nice about Unity, that when you have field in the inspector, you can actually do this kind of calculation, press enter, and actually calculate. So let's see now. It didn't change it that much. Okay. Never mind, let's do it something like this. Okay, I'll just put 3. And it's still pretty slow actually. Not sure why. Okay, so we have this time delta time. Oh, this is not the speed. I'm not using speed yet. That's the reason. So speed. Okay, this is a common bug usually for beginners and juniors, but sometimes even senior developers make mistakes. All the time we make mistakes, so this is stupid mistake. So I created a value to change the code to be that I can make more robust, make it change more easily, but then I didn't use the variable. So the second thing most important when using variables, actually using the variable. So I created speed, I want it here, and we know that we had 0.02. So let's do it again, times 30, enter, we got 0.6, this makes sense. And now once I run it, okay, now see that it moves in the same speed all the time? This is what I meant, this is why we use the time delta time. So what's really nice about variables is we can change them. We can change them like saying, okay, you know what, instead of this, I'll do it in minus. And because we added to x, we actually will make x smaller, so now it will go to the left instead of the right. Okay, it's kind of funny. And what else can we do? So we have it to the left, we have it to the right, we can actually change the speed. Okay, here we change the x, we can actually change the speed. We can just say, you know what, let's make speed on each frame equals speed plus 0.02. Okay, so and I have to use float here, so f. Okay, so this would increase speed by 0.02 on every frame, and it will make it actually run faster. Okay, so I'll go back so we can see it on the scene. Okay, let's do it again, just a second. Okay, so and as you can see, because the speed in the beginning is minus 0.6, actually going the other way and then start to move and it's a quite nice effect. So let's start with this, -2. Okay, so it's going to start really fast and then going to whoop, really nice. So all these things we can actually do with variables, right? It's quite amazing. But even what is even better that using it this way is I can actually, I won't change the speed here. Okay, it doesn't work now only with the speed. And if I go back to Unity, okay, then as I said, I can use 0.6, and it's what we've seen, right? Now, what happened if I bring back the red one? Okay, let's put the red one here, and I'll just move it down here. When I play, actually nothing will happen to the red one. Okay, because it doesn't have even the script, right? It doesn't have, if I look at the green one, I have here all the script in the variable. The red has nothing. Also, but I can add it from here, or I can find it in the script here and like drag it inside. Let's do this. And now he has the x, the y, and the speed. So let's put the y in just -2, so it would be around here below. And let's put the speed on 0.7. So when I run the game, you can see that the red is faster. Okay, if I'll do it something like 1.2, it would be much faster, and we can see it. Okay, and I can go and duplicate this one and put the y in 2 and change the color to let's say purple. Okay, now it covers the red, but because I changed the values, it would jump up here. And let's change the speed to be -1. Okay, so -1 is actually going to the left side. So now we have three different squares, and all of them are going on different speed, kind of different direction. They have their own color, and that's the beauty of working with variables. We can change the behavior of basically the same object, the same copies of the same object, to act differently. So this was a really basic lesson on how to work with variable. I just wanted to show you how variable help us create interactive games or any program. Actually, this is one of the best things in programming, that you can use variable and other things like if statements, which we'll probably look on later, to make something interactive. And we just did it with the free, but I can actually do it with many more. You know what? Let me just show you. Okay. So another thing that adds interactivity is using random. And in Unity we have function. Okay. Let's do it like this. So I'll make it private. I don't want to use it anymore from the editor. So I want all these to be private. Okay, and here in the start I'll just change the value. So x equals a random. Okay, random dot range. Okay, he added this one, I believe. We don't need it. Random range, and I'll just give it from let's say 0.6 to 2. No, this is the x, so let's get it -2, and 2. So it will put the x somewhere in the range, and I'll put it in flow. And let's do the same for y. So y dot random dot range, and here I'll do it with 3 and -3. Again, I have to use float values, so both these values will be decided randomly. And let's do the same for speed. And you know what, I'll do the same for speed, like random dot range, and I'll actually use 2f and 2f, sorry, this would be minus. And now I totally changed the way it's positioned and move just by changing these variables. So let me run it. Okay, and every one of them going different direction with different speed. Run it again, totally different location, totally different speed. And let me just remove these two. Now I have only red one, right? And I'll put it here. I use the scale to scale it down. Okay, and let's just create a lot of copies. So I'm just selecting it and pressing Ctrl D many times, so I'll have like 16, included the first one. And now when I run it, okay, every one different location and different speed. Do it again, different location, different speed. Okay, so this is really nice, and this is what we can do with randomize and working with variables. So I hope this lesson was, this video was helpful for you. I always enjoy teaching it, and I hope it kind of help you look at variable in the way I look at it and on all the possibilities. Hopefully I will do another video on this subject, maybe get into even more details on what we can do with variables. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video, I guess. So see you, talents.